This broadcast is brought to you by Studio 397, SimLab, Huskenveld, Maastricht InterClassics, SimTag, and our other valuable sponsors during this broadcast and the Sim Formula Europe 2021. My name is Paul Jeffrey, and today we are at the wonderful Virginia International Raceway in Alton, Virginia, USA for the Sim Formula Europe 2021 qualification quarter-final races. We've got 3 splits and 60 drivers that'll be taken to this fantastic American venue for the course of 3 20-minute races. The aim of the game during this day of racing is to finish in the top 10 of your respective split to go through to the semi-final race on Saturday afternoon, where 30 of our drivers will join together to fight for the all-important top 9 position to qualify for Sim Formula Europe 2021 in January the 17th. Today, we've got Ruben Correa Alves on broadcast direction duties, so a big thank you to him, and Jimmy Allison on race control. And my name is Paul Jeffrey, shouting the action for you across these 3 races. Event number 1 will be our split 1 from a hot lap qualification process. We've had an incredible amount of drivers set a time in the qualification process, 424 to be precise, and we've taken the top 60 of those and brought them in to these 3 splits to decide who goes through to the semi-final races on Saturday. The top 60, to give you an indication of the level of performance of these drivers, were separated by less than 7/10 of a second, and we've got over 25 nationalities represented in these 3 split races. So an incredible effort for our sim racing community, professional esport drivers and community members alike to come and set a time to qualify for these races. Sim Formula Europe 2021 is the second of a new annual R Factor 2 esports extravaganza. Last year we were live on site for Maastricht. Unfortunately, the global health situation prevents that this year, so we're taking it online for the very first time. We hope to be back again in 2020 on site at the beautiful MECC Arena in Maastricht in the Netherlands, but we're still partnered with the InterClassic event and the wonderful Virtual Dutch Grand Prix. As you can see on your screen, we've got 2 minutes and 50 seconds left of qualification for the very first race of the day. And as I say, there are 3 races taking place, 20 minutes, no pit stops. It is all about pure pace, all about not making a mistake, all about keeping the car on the straight and narrow and trying to secure that all-important top 10 position to qualify. There are no points on offer. It will be decided today who's going to get through to Saturday's semi-final races. We're looking at Nikodem Vineski now in the Tortoise FT60. This is the same specification car that races in the Toyota Gazoo Racing Championship in New Zealand. It's an open wheeler. It's got around 295 brake horsepower, and for this track at Virginia International Raceway in the United States should make something of a dramatic experience for our drivers. We're looking at the times now. Vineski is currently our quickest man on a 1 minute 36.599. Compare that to the qualification times as well. And Yayoski now actually goes fastest, just puts a lap in 18 thousandths of a second quicker to go to the top of the field. It's only a 20-minute race, ladies and gentlemen, so qualification will be critical for these drivers. You want to get a good starting position. That will put you in the prime seats for the race as Vineski once again goes to the top of the time sheets. Nikodem Vineski at the top of the timesheet so far. Looking at Daniel Kiss on screen at the moment. 1.5 tenths of a second is Vineski ahead of Yoyost, with Gassner in 3rd position. Kevin Siggy in 4th. And Stefanko 5th place, just 0.3 of a second, covering the top 5 drivers on the track at the moment. It's about a 3.27 mile long circuit, so incredibly close times. A couple of the runners further down the order, a little bit further down than we would have expected. 19 drivers of the expected 20 on circuit setting times at the moment in the final 40 seconds of qualification. We'll be going straight into the race once this session has finished. We're looking now at Tokarev, Vlad Tokarev, 9th position at this moment in time, 0.4 of a second away from the ultimate pace. So he'll be looking to make a move further up the order. Remember, these drivers need to finish in the top 10 to be sure of progressing. Tokarev, 9th place in the danger zone. Michi Hoyer, another very fast driver, just behind him as well. So Tokarev's got to try and put a quick lap in, and he does. He crosses the line in 3rd position, 0.2 of a second in deficit to our pole position sitter at this moment in time. Vlad Tokarev pulls one out of the bag. He's got enough time left on the clock to set a final lap as well. Looking at Adam Maguire now. Maguire running down in 17th position. He needs to find 0.9 of a second. He wants those 7 places. Flat top 10. Maguire gets a little bit of a twitch coming down through the kink. Keeps him riding on board now. Looking as he runs towards the line. 0.9 of a second, 1/10 away from the next nearest car. Can he improve when he crosses the line? Yes, he can, but it's only 16th position. So Nikita Wisniewski is our current provisional pole sitter. We're looking at Mark Gassner now on his final flying lap. Monsters the curb through the final corner. The bright yellow number 62, very distinctive looking tortoise FT60 car there for Mark Gassner, coming down the straight with flat to the floor, hoping to try and bleed as much acceleration, as much top speed as he possibly can out of this car. Gassner currently 5th position, 0.2 of a second away from pole. He's only driver realistically in the top 5 capable of advancing through towards the end of this qualification session. Looking monster in the curves, getting the car sideways, manages to keep it pointing in the right direction, though that will not be too much of a time loss for Mark Gassner as he comes across the start-finish line. Will he improve on his position? We will find out in a moment's time. No, he does not. Retains 5th place, but that's a good starting position for Mark Gassner there, as we're seeing Peter Bayak now in 15th position, looking to set a final time, runs wide onto the grass. That's the end of his session, and Jim Parissis now in 8th place, 0.3 of a second. It's incredibly tight throughout the field. 0.8 of a second cover the top 17. Can Jim Parissis go further up the running order? No, he cannot. He retains 8th position, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is your grid for the first race of the day of Sim Formula Europe 2021 qualification semi-finals here from the Virginia International Raceway in the United States of America. Great performance from all concerned, an incredibly tight field as we expected it to be. 3.82 of a second, under 0.4 of a second cover our top 10 drivers. Nikita Wisniewski is our pole position man with a 1 minute 36.426. Kevin Siggy lines up on the front row of the grid, 1/10 of a second in arrears with a 36.555. Erhan Yuyovsky, a very experienced R Factor 2 racer, in 3rd position ahead of Vlad Tokarev in 4th. On the 3rd row of the grid, Mark Gassner heads up Daniel Kiss in 6th position. In 7th, we've got Martin Stefanko. In 8th, Jim Parissis. In 9th, Jack Keithley. And in 10th position, rounding out the top 10 of qualification, is Michi Hoyer. 0.3, nearly 0.4 of a second in arrears of pole position with a 36.808 on the books. Now, to remind you all, if you're new to R Factor 2 Esports, thank you for joining in. It's great to have you with us here today on R Factor Live on Twitch. If you can give us a like and a follow, that would be fantastic to never miss out on the esport racing action as well. Looking down the grid again now, these are the top 10 qualifiers that we spoke about at the beginning of the show. They've got to get a 10th place finish in this race. That is what our drivers are aiming for. Yuri Toman in 11th and Christopher Hogfeld in 12th position are the drivers that need to move forward. In 13th, Ziggy Sierra, who we saw last time out at Sim Formula Europe 2020, ahead of Janos Baskok, Peter Brylak and Adam Maguire in 16th place. 17th is Jacob Brzezinski ahead of Giorgio Valeriano. And in 19th and last position is Martin Hemmingson in the number 3 Tortoise FT60. These drivers have got to apply aggression. They've got to apply speed. They've got to move forward. But it's only a 20-minute race. And for double jeopardy, to make it even more difficult for these esport racers, there's only one opportunity to go forward into the semi-final races. There's no second chance. There's no points. There's no being conservative and bagging the result. This is your one and only chance. So you've got to be on the money, make no mistakes, get involved in nobody else's accident. The track is very difficult. The Tortoise FT60 is a very lively car, despite it being a junior single-seater, so to speak, compared to the faster Grand Prix cars. It goes with a fair lick, but it wants to bite. It wants to catch you out. These drivers haven't had very long to prepare for this race. The hot lap qualification ended just 2 days ago, so it is very much a case of throwing our racers in at the deep end. It's a case of giving them as little preparation time, so the best of the best, whoever can adapt, whoever can withstand the pressure, whoever can perform on the day, is the drivers that'll be taking away the golden ticket that will get them in to our semi-final race on Saturday. And if you're interested in watching that semi-final race, it will be live and exclusive on the R Factor Live Twitch channel, Saturday 3 p.m. CET. So make sure you watch that to see who we will be taking forward to Sim Formula Europe 2021 Finals Day on the 17th of January. The 9 drivers will be joining our reigning champion, Risto Capper, live and exclusive to fight for a €13,500 prize pool of equipment and cash. It's a great opportunity for the drivers to have a very enjoyable day of racing, but also to win big prizes. And once again, thank you to our sponsors and to Sim Formula Europe for making all of this possible. And the drivers now have been round on their formation lap. They've warmed their tyres. They've warmed their brakes. They're lining up on the grid. And ahead of us is 20 minutes of, I would hope, very intense and very exciting e-sport racing action. Nikodem Wisniewski that you see there on pole position at the outside in the number 1. The sister car alongside him, Kevin Siggy, creeping a little bit out of the line. Siggy, be careful to make a jump start. The lights are go. The cars power down into the horseshoe for the very first time. 19 Tortoise FT60s fanning across the circuit, looking for the right amount of space to get their car through. Mark Aston will ride on board. He's on the inside line. He's got Tokarev on the outside. No, he's not. He's got Stefanko on the outside. That becomes the inside for the tight twist and bring back to the left-hand side. Gazner, be careful not to run too wide onto the ever-slippery AstroTurf, as now we're riding on board with a great fight. Look at the cars behind, all veering out across the circuit, trying to find that little bit of real estate, trying to find the space to put their Formula car into that gap and make their way forward. You've got to act now, you've got to attack right from the very off while the tyres are cold, the cars are at the heaviest, the drivers are at their least comfortable stage. This is when opportunities present themselves to work your way through the running order. We're riding on board now with Tokarev. He's chasing down Yoyoski that we can see ahead of him. Siggy in second position. Wisniewski managed to convert pole position into an early race lead on this opening lap at the Virginia International Raceway for Sim Formula Europe 2021 qualification quarterfinals. Exciting racing. They need the top 10. We've seen a couple of drivers a bit further down. Jack Keithley is out of the running. Not quite sure what happened there, but Keithley has dropped to the bottom of the order with DNF against his name. So 18 drivers left in this field. Kevin Siggy now is our race leader. I didn't see that on screen as I was looking at Keithley, but Kevin Siggy now takes race lead. So Nikodem Wisniewski from pole position to second on the opening lap. He's now under pressure from the yellow car of Yoyoski behind. So Wisniewski needs to recover his composure, try to tap into the pace that we know he's got available to us. We're looking down into the horseshoe. Look to the inside. The gap is left. Don't want to touch that curb on the inside. That will unsettle the car. There's a very stiffly sprung little Formula cars are these Tortoise FT60s. Be careful not to use too much curb in inopportune places. It will spit you off the road if you make a mistake. If you retire or spin or lose positions, there is very, very little opportunity to close that gap back down again as well. Looking at a really good fight in the middle of the field now. 17 minutes 42 seconds left on the clock already. We've seen the first couple of laps. One of the cars kicking up a little bit of dust at the back of the shot there. We've seen Gazner now trying to fight for position. A great battle for first position. A great battle for last position. Too wide, running through the snake. The car at the back of the field will be looking to find an opportunity past it. That's Brassock in the back car there. The white car ahead behind the two black Tortoise vehicles ahead, trying to buy into the fight. See what those two do between each other. If a gap presents itself as Yoyoski now closing down Nikita Wisniewski ahead of him. Wisniewski in the slipstream. We're trying to find the best opportunity to suck himself up to the rear of the car, putting Wisniewski under pressure. Wisniewski knows he's made a mistake. He knows he's lost this race lead. All is not lost. You don't need to win the race, but what you do need is, we're looking at a quick replay now. This is Jack Keithley, we say retired from the race earlier on. So Keithley turns in to the right hand, he catches the curve, that runs him wide onto the grass, loses control of the car, straight into the barriers. We've got damage on, we've lost the front wing, and Jack Keithley's day ends very, very early indeed in this first race from Split 1 of Sim Formula Europe 2021 qualification quarterfinals, as our race leader Kevin Siggy sets the provisional fastest lap of the race so far. Wisniewski, that we're looking at again, using all the road and more in his pursuit of Nikita Wisniewski ahead of him. Looking back now from Wisniewski's car, you can see just how much the gap is yo-yoing between these two cars. There's a lot of high-speed corners here at VIR. The slipstream, the wake from the back of the car that is leading in front will reduce downforce, but in straight line like now, the slipstream of fate will bring Wisniewski into contention. Can Erhan Wisniewski find a way past his rival Nikita Wisniewski ahead? Remember, folks at home, he doesn't need to effect this overtake. As long as he finishes in the top 10, he's through to the semi-final event on Saturday. But racing drivers, be it real or virtual, see an opportunity to overtake, and they will attack. As we've seen Wisniewski now looking to the inside, telegraphs the move nice and early. It's going to be a case of who will be the last of the late breakers. Wisniewski decides better discretion is the better part of valor. The very first part of that corner is incredibly quick, but I saw Wisniewski run a little bit deep into the second part of the turn. That fight continues now, but look at this. This is Kuba Brzezinski. It's making contact. Adam Maguire now trying to find his way past the back of that one, but Brzezinski making contact with the car ahead. That loses in position. And you see a little bit of a slide there as well. Brzezinski now goes back into attacking mode. The car ahead has lost momentum. Maguire decides he'll have a piece of that one as well. And Hemmingson drops to the back of this three-car fight. This is outside the top 10, so these drivers need to stop squabbling with themselves and start pushing forward to try and get that top 10 position. Brelite, Sierra, Hodgefeld currently taking those places. We see the back three of those. That is Hemmingson, I believe it is. So Martin Hemmingson makes a little mistake, falls away from that fight. That opens the door for Brasok to find a way past as well. So Janis Brasok is a man on the move. But Erhan Wisniewski, once again, already in the first 6 minutes of this race, Erhan Wisniewski is looking like a driver most on his toes, most keen to progress forward through the order. Nikita Wisniewski doing everything he can, every trick in the book, every ounce of experience, of skill, of speed that he has in his locker, he's deploying to keep this second position. But meanwhile, Kevin Siggy at the front of the pack is looking in his mirrors and not rubbing his hands, otherwise that would be an accident, but in his mind he's rubbing his hands together. Those two fight, that will give him the buffer that he needs to start gapping these drivers. It's only a 20-minute race, of course. We're looking now at a replay. So this is Martin Hemmingson that we saw a little bit earlier on, getting gas a little bit too early, losing the rear of the car. Good catch actually by Hemmingson there to keep the car pointing broadly in the right direction, so he lives to fight another day. But actually, Toman and Hemmingson have both retired from this race, joining Jack Keithley on the sidelines. The end of their Sim Formula Europe 2021 adventure has come a little bit earlier than they would like. The upshot of that, there are only 16 cars left on the grid. We only need a top 10 as Ziggy Sierra now takes over that top 10. So Hodgefeld in 11th position now is the man outside of the bubble. He's lost the top 10 position. We've got Braylag, Brzezinski, Maguire, Brasok and Valeriano fighting for that all-important top 10. But the fight at the front of the field is intense as well. These drivers are putting on a tremendous show for the audience at home. If you're new to R-Factor 2, if you're new to esports and new to Sim Formula Europe 2021, to remind you, these drivers need to finish in the top 10 of this opening split to qualify for Saturday's semi-final qualification race, which will get them in to Sim Formula Europe Finals Day. So they're fighting for the top 10, which becomes the top 10 fight now, as we see a mistake. That's Hodgefeld, who was speaking about it. He's lost his front ring. He's ran too deep into the hairpin. Incredibly simple to do on this track, as we see now Mark Gassner and Martin Stefanko fighting tooth and nail for 5th and 6th position. So action throughout the field from top to bottom of this grid. You cannot take your eyes off things for a moment, and Hodgeveld has retired from this race. So we started with 19, we're less than 10 minutes in, and we're down to 15 runners. 5 of these drivers will be coming away from this race disappointed. We're riding on board now. This is Hodgeveld. We're looking at coming in to the right-hander, runs a little bit deep, gets the rear of the car lost, catches the curb. These are very low cars, so again, hits the curb. The car, in effect, aquaplanes straight to the scene of the accident. A very, very simple mistake to make, one that we have all made in abundance, I am sure, at this Virginia International Raceway track. So a sad end to the race there for Hodgeveld, and that leaves Valeriano as the last runner on the grid. 21 seconds cover our top 15 drivers as we're just about to hit the halfway mark in this very first race of 3 that we'll be holding today for split 1 of Sim Formula Europe 2021 qualification quarterfinals, live and exclusive here on the R Factor 2 Live Twitch channel. I hope you're enjoying the broadcast so far. Great broadcast direction by Ruben Correa Alves. So once again, thank you very much for your work. We're looking now, Ciara running a little bit deep. He's the man on the bubble, is Ziggy Ciara. We saw him last season in Sim Formula Europe 2020, live from the Maastricht Arena. And Ziggy Ciara is the man under pressure, the most pressure of this race so far. He's a good 6 seconds arrears of 9th place. This is all about qualification. Bright Light looks up the inside. Ciara tries to duke it out around the outside. That becomes the inside. Slight contact between the two cars, but Bright Light gets the position. Ziggy Ciara relegated to 11th. He's not given up on this fight yet, but a little bit too understeering, too much understeer through that fast left-right chicane. That is the slipstream effect. We're looking now at Jim Precis and Daniel Kiss fighting for 8th position. Kiss on the outside, I believe it is. Yes, he's given up the fight in that one. Wise move there from Daniel Kiss. Decided not to force the issue for the overtake. Live to fight another day. Get in the wheel tracks of the car ahead. Fill the mirrors of the car ahead. Put him under pressure. Make him run wide. Give him the excuse to open the door for you to pass, rather than trying to force the issue and taking a chance where you don't need to take a chance. They've only got this one opportunity to progress through to the semi-finals. You cannot afford to make a mistake, even if it means conceding an overtake that you think you can master. We're looking now at Mark Gassner in the yellow car, riding on board with Martin Stefanko behind 5th and 6th position. You can see tantalisingly close the fight for race leading for a podium ahead of him. Stefanko showing a great turn of pace so far in this black, orange and gold car. He's got the speed of the cars ahead of him now. As we're looking at Erhan Yoski, looks to the inside of Nikola Vineski. This fight has been building all race long. Vineski just about manages to beat him on the brakes. Vineski very brave there on the brakes. Yoski looks like he's a man who wants the position but is not willing to risk absolutely everything in which to achieve it. And while these two are nibbling at each other's toes, Vlad Tokarev in 4th position is starting to buy into this fight. Tokarev in clean hair has the opportunity to close the gap down stealthily. He's looking to close up to the back of these two cars. See if an opportunity opens itself up to nip up the inside, while Yoyoski is concentrating on Vineski ahead of him. Tokarev slowly but surely, meticulously, mechanically, is finding his way up. As we're riding on board now, he runs a little bit wide, so commentators curse there. As I was saying, he's doing everything right. He does it all wrong, but gets away with it and only loses a few yards distance. He'll soon make that up again, especially as Yoyoski continues to attack. He's warming his tyres up now, starting to lose a little bit of temperature, a little bit of pressure behind the car ahead. It'll also be filling the mirrors of Nikola Vineski's car in front, making Vineski look behind him rather than concentrate on the racetrack ahead of him. But that almost falls foul there for Yoyoski, getting very, very sideways, runs wide onto the track, loses a little bit of momentum down this very long back straight. Tokarev now slipping up back into the slipstream of the car ahead, following in the wheel tracks of the bright yellow and black Tortoise FT60 in front of him. He'll be using that slipstream to pull his car along the racetrack faster than if he was in clean air. That will close the gap up quicker, but conversely, you will lose downforce in the corners as well. So the balance of the car will change. You'll have to be cautious not to make a mistake as the battle now we're looking at between Kiss and Parissis in 8th and 9th position. These two drivers are a good few seconds up the road for the bubble fight that we're looking at between Peter Blyak and Ziggy Sierra in 10th and 11th position. So they're clear of that particular fight. If they keep the car on the straight and narrow, keep it on the grey stuff, keep pointing in the right direction for the next 6 minutes and 32 seconds, they will be qualified for the Sim Formula Europe 2021 semi-final. And this is Yoyoski now getting all wrong, managing to keep the car just about facing the right way. Great car control from Erhan Yoyoski there. Very, very light on his toes, very keen on the steering. It's always scary, pointing right into a left-hander. Erhan Yoyoski manages to keep the car going and, in fact, has closed the gap down once again to Nikodem Wisniewski ahead of him. I feel that Erhan Yoyoski has more pace than the car in front. Following so closely for such a long period of time, the car will be getting hot. The tyres and the brakes will be getting hot. The balance will be changing. It will be falling outside of the comfortable operating window that the Yoyoski has set his car up to operate in. So he'll be keen. It's not just a case of putting one over on your rival, because don't forget, these guys will all qualify for Saturday's semi-final race. If you can put one over on your rival now, that is a marker in the sand. That is a mental marker when you come to face them again in the semi-final. To know that you've beaten them once, that is worth gold to a racing driver, either in real or virtual land. So they'll want to have half an eye on Saturday's event as well to show that they're someone not to be messed with. Because, of course, on Saturday, it's only the top 9 of 30 cars that we're taking forward to finals day at Sim Formula Europe 2021. So still a lot to play for, just under 5 minutes left on the clock. Let's have a quick rundown of who has qualified in qualification positions at this stage of the race. Kevin Siggy, our race leader, took an early race lead, has never been challenged since, currently 2.5 seconds to the good in first position. Nikodem Wisniewski and Erhan Yoyoski practically as one in second and third. Vlad Tokarev playing a watching brief in fourth position ahead of Mark Gasker and Stefanko in sixth. Michi Hoyer having a great race to work his way up the order into seventh position ahead of Daniel Kiss in eighth. Jim Parissis in ninth position ahead of the man on the bubble, the man with the most pressure on his shoulders at this moment in time is Peter Blyak, the driver that qualified second during the hot lap competition. So an incredibly fast driver ahead of 2020 Sim Formula Europe entrant Ziggy Sierra in 11th. Kuba Brzezinski in 12th position heads Maguire in 13th, Brasok in 14th, and Valeriano currently last of our runners in 15th position, and sadly for Valeriano, a good 8 seconds in arrears of the field. So it'll be very dramatic indeed if he manages to bring himself back into the fight for this top 10. But Kuba Brzezinski and Adam Maguire, 12th and 13th place, are tooth and nail at each other at the moment. This is not a position it's good enough to get you through to the qualification, but with so many cars so closely matched at this stage in the race, it will only take one ill-advised overtake, one mistake, one spin, and suddenly you're in the fight for that top 10. So you must push all the way to the checkered flag. It's only a 20-minute race. The cars will be lighter as they burn down the fuel. The tyres will be scalding hot now as they run over the abrasive 3.27 mile long American circuit. Anybody who's raced at VIR in the past will know this is a very challenging track. It's a driver's circuit through and through. It rewards the accurate, it rewards the brave, it rewards the ambitious driver, and we're seeing some great racing action on circuit so far. Michi Hoyer, we're looking at now the third of this three-car fight in seventh position, chasing down the sister liveried car of Martin Stefanko in sixth place. Stefanko himself looking at Gaster in fifth position. Tokarev a little bit further up the road now has decided to back out of that fight between Wisniewski and Yoyoski that has been brewing all race long, but it's looking very much like it's going in Wisniewski's favour for second position, but there is still plenty of fighting left to do in the last couple of minutes. Plenty of opportunities for drivers to find their way past. As we're looking now, Kuba Brzezinski looks one way, looks the other. There's no gap there for his car. Tries to get a good run through the downhill chicane. Be careful not to run too wide on understeer. He's got a good run down the back straight for the slipstream. Will that open up an overtaking opportunity? We'll find out shortly as we flick back once again to Stefanko. Now in sixth position, now find a way past, but here we see Brzezinski locks the inside wheel, keeps the car to the inside. Great driving from both drivers there. Maguire gave him the racing room, and Brzezinski finds himself once again further up the running order, but just out of that top 10 qualification position that he needs. You can see Ziggy Sierra just ahead of him. You can see Peter Blyak a little bit further up the road. So these drivers are fighting for everything they have got, but it's just going to be, I fear, a little bit too big of an ask in the last 1 minute, last 60 seconds of competition for Split 1, the Sim Formula Europe 2021. As we see it again, another great fight. Stefanko still very much the meat in an aggressive tortoise FT60 sandwich as he tries to find a way ahead of Gassner in the bright yellow car in front. Michi Hoyer playing the wise game a little bit further back. Gassner goes to the outside. The outside will become the inside if he can brave it out. It's a little bit too quiet on the brakes. The car ahead just about, Gassner just about manages to spot his braking zone, position his car perfectly. There's no room for Stefanko that we're riding on board with now, and this is the danger of a track such as VIR. You can overtake, but you have to be committed. Stefanko now looking at the slipstream as once again we're seeing Brzezinski and Maguire fighting for everything. Stefanko now on the outside, Gassner on the inside, runs wide, gets on the marbles, the curb, the tarmac, the track surface is not as robust as it is on the racing line. That costs Stefanko as Hoyer, as we mentioned earlier, watching brief behind, finds an opportunity and nips in to steal sixth position right at the very final throw of the dice. At the end of the day, this won't matter too much for these drivers. They're still well within that all-important top 10, but Michi Hoyer will be waving a fist of delight inside his virtual cockpit of that overtaking manoeuvre. Made it look simple in the end. In fact, he's not done yet. Michi Hoyer fancies a run on Mark Gassner ahead. Again, looks one way, looks the other. Over the crest of the hill, the car gets a little bit unsettled. That spooks Michi Hoyer. He comes off the throttle, stabilises the car once again for the next section of corners. A little bit of snap, oversteer on corner exit, but he controls that nice and straightforward. And again, Michi Hoyer wants that position, but will not risk everything to get him. Mark Gassner is a masterclass of defending, but he leaves a gap to the inside. Hoyer, can he make two positions in the final lap? Will he be later on the brace? Yes, he is. Gassner decides enough is enough. Hoyer's got the speed. He can have the position, and Michi Hoyer overtakes two cars in the final lap of this race. A real marker of intent. But Kevin Sigge, the man that has been unmatched, unsurpassed all race, wins Split 1 of Sim Formula Europe 2021 qualification quarterfinals with a consummate performance of domination at the front of the field. Michi Hoyer crosses the line in fifth position. Peter Brylak here that we're seeing is the 10th place man. He's the man on the bubble that secures the final qualification spot for Saturday's semi-final races. Great driving from each and every one of the drivers, and these are the men who have qualified for Saturday's Sim Formula Europe 2021 qualification semi-finals. Kevin Sigge from second on the grid takes the race victory. Nikita Wisniewski, pole position, drops to second at the flag, but still gets his qualification ticket. Erhan Yoyoski applied every bit of pressure he could, but was only good enough for third and rounding out the podium. At the end of the race, Vlad Tokarev takes fourth position ahead of Michi Hoyer, the man on the move in the final minutes of this opening race. Mark Gassner secures sixth position ahead of Martin Stefanko in seventh. Daniel Kiss is in eighth position, and Jim Pareisis and Peter Brylak round out the qualifiers from Split 1 of Sim Formula Europe 2021 qualification quarterfinals. Ziggy Sierra fails to make it through in 11th place, Kuba Brzezinski in 12th, Adam Maguire in P13, Janos Brasok in 14th place, and Giordano Valeriano is the last of our Finnish drivers running on circuit in 15th. Christopher Hodgfeld, Martin Hemmingson, and the rest retired early before the checkered flag. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a good opportunity to get a moment's breath. What an incredible Split 1 race. And if you enjoyed that, stay with us. We've got 2 more still to go. We took 60 drivers from the hot lap qualification. We split them up into 3 splits of 20 drivers each. And we're about to do it all over again for our Split 2 race. Exactly the same principles apply. You need to finish in the top 10 to qualify for Saturday's final. It's qualification already. We've only got 26 minutes left on the clock, and Jiri Simonec is currently the fastest man with a 36.456. But once again, look how close this field is. Marcel Sisnik in second position, 8/1000ths of a second in arrears. A positive landslide of 1.5 tenths further back is Mohammed Patel from the United Kingdom in third place. Moronasek in fourth, Jordan fifth, and Marto currently in sixth. Van der Heide in seventh position. Bock and Nasola and Ravayo round out the top 10 runners as the checkered flag waves. The drivers are eligible, are allowed to complete the lap that they have already started before the checkered flag waves to set the grid for what will be Server 2, our second race, Split 2, based on lap times achieved in the hot lap qualification session. Exactly the same as we saw last time out. These drivers need a top 10 finish. It will be another 20-minute race. There are no pit stops. It is not about strategy. It's not about saving your tyres. It's about pushing forward and getting the result you need to take you into Saturday's. Liam DeWall now we see locking the inside front wheel, locking the tyre that is not loaded, maximum braking capacity, trying to take as much speed into the corner as possible. VIR carrying speed down the straights is where the lap time can be found. Van der Waal, DeWaal now 11th position as he races towards the line, fails to improve his time, remains 11th on the grid, 8.5 tenths away from Simonec on provisional pole position. Patel now third place man, currently looking to find 2.5 tenths to take away that provisional pole position. Can he cross the line any faster than 36.380? No, he cannot. A further 3 tenths in arrears, so Patel stays at the front of the second row of the grid. A qualification, quick fire event that we're doing today, race after race after race, and this is the second of them. And there, your top 10 qualification times for Split 2 of Sim Formula Europe 2021 qualification quarterfinals here at the Virginia International Raceway in Alton, Virginia, the United States of America. If you want to drive this track yourself in R Factor 2, head over to the Steam store. This is part of the Riser Pack DLC. It's a great circuit. The Tortoise FT60 is one of many Tortoise Formula cars. There are 3 in the Steam Workshop. I have no cost attached to them, so you can drive this car for free, buy the VIR racetrack, and have yourself a great experience in RF2. But let's have a look at the starting grid. So Jiri Simonec in pole position ahead of Marcel Sisnik. Mohammed Patel and Mironix round out row 2, with Dennis Jordan and Pierre-Luca Amato on row 3, 5th and 6th position. Jan van der Heide ahead of Yannick Bock in 7th and 8th places, and rounding out the top 10 is Jonas Reveus and Jimmy Nasala. Liam DeWall and Noah Rivers are 11th and 12th positions on the grid. In 13th place is Robin Panzer, in 14th Zolzux, in 15th David Colase, and in 16th place Aaron Pinzez in the number 3 Tartus FT60. 17th and 18th, the last 2 runners on our grid are Maciej Miljanek and Lauren Kiersmakers in the number 3 car. We've got 2 drivers that haven't made it into the server in time for qualification for various reasons, so it will be an 18-car field, but the goal remains the same. You need a top 10. You have to stay out of trouble. We've already seen from Split 1 how tight and how competitive and how impressive these drivers are. So make no mistakes. Go flat out. Try to stay out of trouble, and you may just get the ultimate reward at the end of the day. Once again, I'd like to welcome anybody that's just joining the broadcast. Thank you to everybody that is already a part of this broadcast and watching from wherever you are in the world. It means a lot to us to have you on board with us for Sim Formula Europe 2021 and this live broadcast. Do give us a like and a follow on R Factor Live on Twitch to never miss out on many very exciting esport competitions that we run throughout the year. We've got some great racing in the GT Pro and the GT Challenge. Of course, there is Sim Formula Europe, where, frankly, these drivers are racing for the opportunity to get through to finals day to take a share of the €13,500 prize pool. It is cash, Sim tag pedals, SimLab P1X cockpit, and Heusinkveld sprint pedals. They're the prizes that are up for grabs. An incredible opportunity to turn the passion of sim racing and esport into a financially viable living. So not only is there the pressure of racing, we see a car off the racetrack in the formation lap, which doesn't bode well for their prospects. Their tyres will be a little bit mucky. They've got some pickup from the dirt as well, so they want to get that cleared off on this slow run to the line. It's a standing start. Once again, just like we had in split one, so the drivers will have to manage the temperatures, have to manage the condition of their cars, will have to balance the throttle and the clutch and fight from the very second the green lights go out. Semenchik on pole position is the man that will be looking to convert that pole position. Race lead is the easiest place to be because you've got nobody in front of you. You set the pace, but the man behind him, Marcel Sistik, will be looking to take advantage of his position. In second, he will be on the outside for T1, so not the most ideal place, but we've seen overtaking is incredibly possible on this racetrack as we're waiting for the lights to go out to form the start of Split 2 for Sim Formula Europe 2021 qualification. Semi-final, quarterfinals are go. Semenchik gets a good start, a little bit of a kerfuffle further down the field. Somebody's off onto the inside of the racetrack, get a little bit too much. Wheel spin, lost the rear of the car, but at the moment our race leader is Semenchik from pole position. Sistik in second place. Patel retains third position, so it's as you were from the starting grid at the front of the field. Semenchik runs a little bit wide now. Sistik trying to find a way past, looks one side, looks the other, gets a run down the start finish straight. He'll be tying back into the slipstream as early as he possibly can, trying to get the run through the snake up the hill, avoids the curves, gets minimum wheel spin possible, decides not to unsettle the car, goes to the outside. There'll be nothing doing on the outside. Can you make that to the inside? No overtaking opportunities possible here. Firmly in the slipstream, Marcel Sistik trying everything he possibly can in the opening stages of this race. Patel a little bit further back, under pressure from Moronovec behind, but he just manages to hold that. We're looking now at Masoula, Jimmy Masoula in 8th position. He's got a train of cars in front and behind. This is like NASCAR racing in America. Make one mistake, you lose 5 positions. Everything to gain and everything to lose in these opening laps now, as we're looking at Ravio trying to find one way, trying to find the other. Ravio cannot find a way past. A car ahead of us runs wide over the grass, gets it back on the racetrack. Be careful on the rejoin there, that scares another one off the circuit. Ravio's gone from 10th position to 7th in the blink of an eye. That's exactly how fast things can change in a race like this, on a track like this, in a competitive field that you're seeing today. 1 minute you're outside of the bubble, next minute you're in the heart of the top 10. But Van der Heide decides he wants a piece of this action as well. He's seen his rival have a relatively easy thing of it, as we've seen now. Sideways, we're on board with Rivers sideways, might just keep the car pointing in the right direction. Noles Kolaski ahead of him, take the position, too wide through the corner. Both drivers managed to survive. Great, intense opening few moments of this split 2 race. Everybody's jockeying for position, bringing the car up to temperature, getting the head in the game as we're looking on board. Sorry, we're looking off board now with Yannick Bock, 12th position, defending from the Dutchman Rivers behind. Princess ahead of him, and these are the two race leaders who, by comparison, have got it pretty serene at the front of the field. Simoncic managed to convert that pole into a race lead. Sisik decides he's not quite got enough speed at this stage in the race to fight him as hard as he was doing in the opening lap. Let's have a look at the replay now. P13 on the grid. Bad start for one of the cars. That bunches the field up 4 wide as we head down into T1. What do? Do you stay on the inside? It's a little bit spooked by a car closing the line. A little bit of contact by 2 drivers ahead of him, but Rovers manages to keep the car out of trouble and facing the right direction. That's fantastic driving from the Dutchman as well. Looking now on Panzer, who's dropping down the running order. So this is Robin Panzer. We're looking in the 12th position, the yellow and black car. We're riding on board with now, was inside the top 10 a few moments ago, now in 12th position, looking to make amends, goes at the inside of Yannick Bock. He's been late on the brakes. Can he spot his braking zone? Yes, he can. Bock tries to close the car, width down, doesn't quite give enough space to his rival, but that does not deter. Robin Panzer to the outside now, braves it around the outside, 2 wide. These cars are glued together for 1, 2, 3, 4 corners. Panzer now afraid he's going to have to concede. Oh, will he? No. Excellent driving from both of them. Robin Panzer decides enough is enough. 5 corners wide is tempting fate a little bit more than he's willing to do at this stage in the race, but that opens up an opportunity for 13th place. Noah Rivers behind tries to find a way past as the squabbling continues further down the field. This is absolutely fantastic race. We've got a car off the racetrack at the back of the grid bouncing through the scenery. That is a disappointing result there. I think that was Kalaske, but I'm not quite sure who that was at this moment in time. But that has taken them very much out of contentions. We're riding on board now with Lawrence Keenmakers just ahead and Zolzuk's behind. Keenmakers 15th position on the grid. Mohammed Patel, by the way, starting to come under a little bit of pressure. In fact, that's not, yes, Patel under pressure for 3rd position. Stays same as his starting place, but this is Kosecki now. 2 wheels on the grass. That's enough to destabilise the car. Gets a little bit of a tank slapper. Can't keep it under control, but he does return to the racetrack. He's only a little bit in arrears of the cars ahead of him, so he's still in contention to try and salvage something from this race in the final 15 minutes. Very late on the brakes. We're riding on board now. Jonas Revello in 7th place. He's the driver, remember, that we saw dancing through cars, going left and right in the opening laps. He'll be delighted with his 7th position. He's a little bit further down the running order in qualification, but he can see the Sula and Duval ahead of him, both fighting for the same piece of tarmac, holding each other up. That is bringing Revello into this fight. That is bringing Jonas Revello into the battle for 5th, 6th and 7th position. He's got around a second or so on Van der Heide behind him, so he's got a little bit of wiggle room to watch these 2 cars, see where they're strong and weak in comparison to the machine that he has underneath him. Try and gauge how they're driving and fighting amongst each other, and then use that in his strategy to decide where the premium overtaking opportunity is, as we're looking now for 10th position. And the fight is basically Alan Princess in 10th and everybody else in 11th place, climbing over the top of each other to try and get that coveted top 10 position and ticket into the semi-finals on Saturday afternoon. Everything, all the pressure rests on the shoulders of this driver on the bubble. This is a position where I'm so glad I'm talking about what's happening on track and not participating, because, ladies and gentlemen, if you've not raced in esport competition at this kind of level before, the pressure these drivers feel is incredible. This is not just racing at home for pleasure. This is trying to make a profession out of these races. It's trying the prestige, the privilege, and the financial rewards that come to these drivers if they manage to qualify is just incredible. And all that will be running through the mind of each and every one of the drivers out on this VIR racetrack. They will know, especially Alan Princess in 10th position, he will know he can taste that semi-final spot. He can 12 minutes and 40 seconds left on the clock, and that spot is his. He's in with the fight. One mistake, one late break, one run wide, one sloppy manoeuvre where he doesn't cover the racing line, and all is for nothing. It is all thrown away, and he can Bock behind it. The guy is in front of us at this moment in time in 11th position. Bock can smell an opportunity and is doing everything he can to try and close up that fight as we're riding on board now. The Kirsmakers in 10th position. The train of fighting cars is in front of him. Now you might think 15th place, 5 away from where you need to be. The cars are up the road. This guy's got no chance at all, but he will know when competitive drivers on a difficult circuit like this, in cars where you can overtake a fighting, any opportunity is possible. As that's Jurgen Simonic coming down pit road. Jurgen Simonic coming down pit road from race lead is about to drop outside of the top 10. Dramatic scenes here at VIR. Simonic comes into pit lane and now finds himself outside of the qualification positions. We said, ladies and gentlemen at home, that anything can happen in these races, and that is a perfect example of it. Simonic is now in P14. He's got 11 minutes and 15 seconds left on the clock. What can he do about securing that top 10 place? It is all up against Jurgen Simonic, now in 14th place. That means Marcel Sissik is in pole position, so to speak, for qualification. He is the race leader. Mohamed Patel is in second position. Ronsek in third. Duval, Missoula, Reveo make fourth, fifth, sixth. Van der Heijden in seventh, ahead of Amato in eighth. Ninth position is Pinzes. So a bit of the pressure has been taken off him. Now he's no longer the bubble driver, but he's under all the pressure in the world from Bock behind. He knows 10th's good enough, but 9th is even better as Bock goes to the inside as they head down the long back straight into the braking zone. Bock gets the overlap, gets the position done under braking, slows the car down into the apex and takes 9th position. So Alan Princess's moment of glory in 9th has been very quickly eradicated. He's back on the bubble, but now he's got Panzer. He's got Panzer behind him. Robin Panzer from Sweden trying to find his way into the semi-finals on Saturday, and there's one car between him and that success. But he'll have his eyes on the mirrors because he'll know Simonic is now 13th position and more than capable of fighting his way through this field in the next 9 minutes and 50 seconds. As we look at a replay, this is Simonic that we're seeing. Gets a little bit of a jump start moving before the lights go green. A very, very easy mistake to make. Simonic pays the ultimate price with a drive-through penalty for a false start. That drops him to 13th place. All is not lost. There is still 9 minutes and 25 seconds left on the clock. He can still do this, especially if these cars keep fighting amongst themselves, and that is why Bock was so keen to make his way past Princess, to get that 9th position, to give himself a little bit of a comfort blanket over the chasing pack. Look at Jurgen Simonic now, using all the racetrack and a little bit more. You can see the body language of the car driving through opposite log, powering the car off the back of the corner. Simonic is giving it is everything, and he looks like he has got pace to spare over these cars, but he'll need to clear the traffic as fast as possible without risking too much on the car. He looks to the inside of Rivers, manages to take the position very, very smooth there. Simonic actually almost gets involved in the rear of Robin Panzer behind. Once he's cleared this yellow car, there'll only be one car between him and qualification with 8:27 left on the clock. So Jurgen Simonic doing everything in his power to make up for that mistake at the start of this race. Noah Ravers, great driving there, knew when the game was up, tried not to defend too hard and damage either car. Great little bit of driving. We're riding now, looking back at Robin Panzer at this fight for 12th position. Simonic up the inside. Ravers knew what was happening, gave enough racing room. Simonic had to be careful not to catch the back of the car in front so late was his braking into that braking zone. But a great piece of respectful, gentlemanly and professional driving from each and every one of those involved in that fight. And the upshot is with just over 7.5 minutes left on the clock. Jerzy Simonic has gone from first to 12th, but he's every opportunity of clearing these two cars in the next 7.5 minutes and re-securing the most hard-fought place into the semi-final. Of Simonic now getting good mid-corner speed, trying to find a way past the car. There's no room there, but he's got the slipstream down the backstretch. It's exactly what he needs. It's a very difficult overtake at the top of the hill. Will he be brave enough? He goes to the outside to make it the inside. He's got an overlap on the wheel. He needs to be careful now. Will Panzer know his car is there? He backs off and goes to the inside. No room there. Panzer great on the brakes, keeping the car nice and stable. A little bit compromised mid-corner. That will give Simonic some heart, but he can carry more speed through the middle of the corner. And look how fraught this is compared to Marcel Sincic at the front of the field, who has basically got the race completely under control. It's so much easier when you're not fighting your rivals, you're just fighting yourself. You're just tapping into your mental reserves of what you're capable of doing based on the practice that you've put in during this race, and that is paying dividends at the front of the field for Marcel Sincic at this moment in time, with a 3.5 second advantage over the chasing pack. But the action, the excitement, the drama and the passion is very much with this man trying to fight his way into the top 10. Jerzy Simonic in 12th position. Panzer, that we're riding on board with now, looking to find a way past. Princess ahead for 10th place. I fear that 10th place will soon become 11th if Simonic has anything to say about this final. While they're squabbling, that opens the door and lay down on the inside. Will he match it on the brakes? No, he will not, because there's some defence, a little bit of contact with the rear of the car. Cars ahead are checking up. 1, 2, 3 cars going inside. Now this is the best opportunity for Simonic. Will he find the clearest path through danger zones? 2 wheels on the grass. That allows Rivers to find a way past. A little bit of contact from the 2 cars in front. Rivers trying to find a way past as well. A little bit messy from all concerned. The youngster for this one is Simonic now back in the top 10 positions. Panzer in 9th position. Jerzy Simonic found a lot of drama in front of him, but kept his cool, picked the cleanest line through the fight, and is now in 10th position and all over like a cheap suit the back of Panzer ahead of him. We're riding on board with Rivers, another one of the drivers that got through that little bit of calamity better than most. It was all started by Princess in 10th position, making a mistake, bunching the field up. 5 cars trying to go into space where there's only enough room for 2. And Rivers now on the inside of Pinzen's, or is it Pinzen's actually on the inside of Rivers? I'm not quite sure which way around that is, but either way, those 2 cars will probably swap positions in the next few moments anyway, so there's no point trying to work out which one it is, because things will change, and they usually do in a matter of a heartbeat in this split 2 race for Sim Formula Europe 2021. Here's Per Luca and Marto that we're riding on board with. A little bit further afield in 17th, gets on to the rumble on the outside, the slightly less clean racetrack. A little bit dangerous rejoin as well there from Marto, so needs to be a little bit careful not to feel the wrath of the stewards. In fact, he is retired from this race. We've only got 16 runners left in contention in the last 4 minutes of this race, and you can see such great driving. Noah Rivas currently in 12th position. Adam Princess ahead in 11th. He was in 10th for the longest time in this race, with a little bit of a fracas earlier on. He shuffled him down the running order. Simonic has made his way back into 10th position and is now trying to find a way past. Panzer ahead in P9 in the yellow car. So this has got all the hallmarks of not being over until the checkered flag waves in 3 minutes and 30 seconds time, as once again there's a fight between Rivers and Princess for this 11th position. Going one side, going the other side, trying to leave each other racing room, boys. Yes, you do. Great driving. A little bit compromised mid-corner. Can the car behind get a run through the turn up towards the stake? No, we can't. It's a very tight part of the racetrack here. Got to be careful to position your car accurately. You don't want to be making a dive bomb. The braking points of this Virginia International Raceway are so very, very short. Carry such high speed into the corners. It makes overtaking incredibly difficult. Here it is with Jerzy Simonic now. Gets crowded out down the straight, going on the grass, but that actually ended up being something of a get out of jail free card as the 2 cars ahead made contact in the straight and spear off the racetrack. So Simoncic got the position he needed, but was so close to ending in an almighty accident between those 4. But let's not fret about what might have been, and let's concentrate on what is. Jurgi Simoncic now in 10th position, once again looking to find a way past Panzer ahead. He's got more speed, but has he got what he needs into the braking point? He's firmly alongside the number 7, gets it all done in the braking point. The Panzer the yellow Panzer Totas FT60 decides discretion is the better part of valor. Let the car go, keep his 10th position, consolidate his 10th position. He's got a few yards of gap between himself and 11th place Aaron Princess. Ravers in 12th, Milinek in 13th, Zux in 14th. Jordan and Kawasaki are rounding out the runners in 13th, 14th, 15th and 16th place respectively in this field. While we've been concentrating on the fight to end all fights for that top 10 position, Yannick Bock and Jan van der Heijden have quietly been going about the business of following each other nose to tail for the last few laps. Bock, who we saw a little bit earlier on in the fight, further ahead, starting to fall back now into Jan van der Heijden in the sister liveried Totas FT60. Van der Heijden will want that position. We spoke about it in the Split 1 race, where putting a pass on your rival is a line in the sand, is a marker of intent to show them that you are a driver that can be riding on board. Now, whoa, sideways like a drift action. Fantastic piece of driving from Noah Ravers there. Not the fastest way around the racetrack, but his heart will have been in his mouth there to keep the car from spinning out and making contact with the barriers. New trousers will be required at the end of this race, but a great save from Noah Ravers as we're riding now. We've not seen much of this driver actually. That's Dawid Miratek in 2nd position. Had a very quiet race in no man's land somewhat. Not close enough to see the race leader, but not close enough to be under pressure from this man, Mohamed Patel, who's in the final provisional podium spot coming into the closing moments of Split 2 from Sim Formula Europe Qualification Quarterfinals 2021 here at the Virginia International Raceway. I'm glad this fight for 10th place has been ongoing because the front 4 are all separated by a nice cosy, as you were, buffer, taking it to the checkered flag. These guys are anything but cosy, as we've seen now. Robin Panzer not giving up on Jurgi Simoncic ahead of him, still interested in that top 9 finish. He needs to remind you all at home to finish 10th. He needs a top 10 to qualify for Saturday's semi-final event. So he's got exactly what he needs to move forward. But Aaron Princess, who's held that position for the majority of this race, still thinks there is an opportunity in it for him to find a last moment of redemption and steal that position away. Nothing is settled between these 3 cars. You can throw a blanket over the top of them. I'll get even closer as they're slipstreaming up the long back straight into the final few corners of this lap. This is danger zone, ladies and gentlemen. Everything rides on these last few corners. Simoncic goes to the inside to defend and cover the line, but Marcel Sestage walks around the outside, and that's a dive by Aaron Princess. Runs over the track. Does he make contact with Simoncic as well? Yes, he does. Simoncic doing everything he can to get back onto the racetrack. Marcel Sestage takes the checkered flag, takes the race fixture, but there's drama in the final lap. There's damaged cars. There's cars running wide off the racetrack. No arrivals now that we're riding on board with. That's turned into a Formula Ford. There's no front or rear wing, and that is Simoncic's car after all the drama and all the work. A last minute foolish dive on the inside. Everything has come undone. Everything is changed on the final lap. The upshot is Panzer takes 9th position and Milinek comes from nowhere to take that P10 spot. And that has been the most dramatic end of the race possible for those top 10 runners. Of course, this is a provisional result. There may well be some investigations into that behaviour after the checkered flag, after today's activity is completed. But Marcel Sisnik is our race winner. Dawid Mirasek In second position, Mohamed Patel. In third, Jim Minnesota in fourth place. Jonas Travaglio in fifth. Liam de Waal takes sixth position. Yannick Bock in seventh place. Jan van der Heide in eighth. Robin Panzer, no doubt covered in sweat, not quite sure exactly what's happening, in ninth position. And Maciej Milanek in 10th. And provisionally the final qualifier for Sim Formula Europe semi-finals on Saturday. No arrivers after all that drama is 11th, Zolt Zux in 12th, Dennis Jordan in 13th, Adam Pinzens in 14th, David Klasike in 15th. A furious Jurgi Simončić is the last of our retirees. Pierluca Amato and Laurent Kiesmakers also finished their day early in what has been, wow, an incredible Split 2 race here from Virginia International Raceway. And don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen, because our third and final race of the day is about to take place. This will be Split 3. 20 more drivers, 20 more screaming Tortoise FT60 race cars, 20 more minutes worth of racing, and 10 more people to send through to the semi-finals on Saturday. Qualification flag has just flown. Yuri Kazdorp is the provisional pole position man with a 36.873 ahead of Kraus and Silva. We will check the time. There's still a few cars out on the racetrack that are in a position where they can improve on their starting grid time. And as we've just seen in Split 2, absolutely anything can happen at any given time on the racetrack. So qualification is important, but keeping out of trouble is what matters in these races. Hopefully we can have a little bit of a cleaner race in our Split 3 drivers who will ride on board with Liam Rance now carrying as much speed through the left-hander as he possibly can. Late on the brakes, a little bit deep into the double apex right-hander. Monsters the curb, sideways on corner exits, goes down the back straight. He'll be losing tenths of a second running down this back straight, following a little bit of a twitch. This is ever the danger with these cars. They have plenty of downforce, but it's about momentum. They're very quickly into a slide. He's 2 tenths down in this split from his overall fastest time, but Rance is 6 tenths away from provisional pole, but he gives up on his lap and calls it quits for today. Yuri Kazdorp still with a 3/10 of a second advantage over Lenov in second place. He cannot go any quicker either. We're looking at Masukulin now in 9th position, 3/10 down after the second split, heading into the final part of the lap. Can he improve from 9th position? Can he close that gap from 7/10 of a second to our race leader as he heads over the line with a 1 minute 37.640? No, he cannot, and he remains in 9th place on the grid. So our grid is set fair, ladies and gentlemen at home, for the final race of the day here at Sim Formula Europe 2021 and the quarter-final qualification races for what should be an incredible new returning esports series in our Factor 2. Virginia International Raceway, thank you. You have served up some incredible racing so far in Split 1 and Split 2, and now third and certainly not final in his Split 3, and our driver's last opportunity to impress and get an all-important top 10 position to qualify for Saturday at 3 p.m. CET. Yuri Kazdorp is your pole position man, ahead of Ivan Lenov in second place. Philip Kraus is ahead of Peyo Pive in third and fourth. In 5th is Diogo Silva, 6th Liam Rance, Kevin Ryan in P7 and Jesper Eriksson in P8. On the 5th row of the grid is Eros Mascole and Danny van der Neet. In 11th place is Paul August Lanner, and in 12th place is Handgraf in the yellow. Tortoise, Kyle Piates in 13th, Konrad Zerebic in 14th, Ben Hitz in P15 and Cosimo Pasuto in 16th place. And the final 2 drivers on the grid are Adrian Cott in 17th and Jacob Reed rounding out the top 18. There's only 18 drivers of the allocated 20 could make it to the competition today. We've seen already in the first 2 races that absolutely anything can happen right the way through to the checkered flag in these races. So expect drama. Stay glued to your seat until the checkered flag has waved, because you do not want to miss this, the final opportunity for these drivers to qualify for Sim Formula Europe 2021 semi-final race, which will be held this Saturday, the 19th of December, R-Factor live on Twitch from 3 p.m. CET. It will be a 30-minute race at the Botnia Ring in the Tortoise FT60 cars. There will be 30 drivers, and 9 of those drivers will qualify for Sim Finals Day on January 17th, where they can win a share of a €13,500 prize pool. And a big shout out to our sponsors while we're on the subject. It's great to have so many outstanding brands taking part in this championship and offering up this level of prize pool for our drivers. Congratulations to the team at Sim Formula Europe for putting on what is so far proven to be a fantastic esport competition, and everybody involved behind the scenes for making this happen. We thank you, and thank you more importantly than anything else to you folks at home for tuning in and watching our broadcast, and hopefully being entertained by 1, 2 and soon to be 3 incredibly exciting esport racers. It's not a track we often race at, it's Virginia International Raceway, and it has served up an absolute treat of racing in the Tortoise FT60 cars. I mentioned it earlier in the broadcast. This is part of the Riser Pack DLC for R-Factor 2. So if you've not already got it, head over to the Steam store and buy this and try it out for yourself. The Tortoise cars, there are a range of different cars, are all free content. We're looking at Diogo Silva now. So he was 5th on the grid, I believe, is elected to start from pit lane. So Diogo Silva immediately making life hard for himself. Starting on pit lane, he will have to set off after all the cars have gone past the pit entry. So Silva, another one to keep our eye on, a very fast driver. So we'll have to see how he makes his way through the field. But that has opened up the opportunity for some of the cars ahead of him, not least in which is Yuri Kazdop on pole position. Can he convert that into a race lead as the lights go out? Yuri Kazdop gets a little bit of a slower start, opens the door for Ericsson to find a way past. Lenov as well, looking for an opportunity. Kazdop gone from pole position into second place. Kraus now makes his way past Lenov as well, gets squirrely on acceleration. All the drivers seem to be clean through the opening corners of the lap. Ericsson laughing and clapping at the front of the field, takes an early race lead. Yuri Kazdop, pole position man, drops down to second position. Kraus and Lenov in 3rd and 4th. Peeve in 5th. Ryan, Moscoli and Nandanit, Piatis and Rance round out the top 10. But Yuri Kazdop actually now the timing screen has updated itself a little bit, is in the race lead, so I got a bit overexcited about something that didn't happen. Had my Murray Walker moment a little bit there in this split 3 race. Yuri Kazdop is in fact still our race leader. Kraus is still in second position, but again, we've seen it already many times so far today. Everything and anything can happen over the course of the next 20 minutes. Yuri Kazdop, a very seasoned and experienced sim racer, often finds exciting, shall we say, things happening around him, so keep your eye out on Yuri Kazdop, because no doubt the story still has a lot of drama to tell before this race closes off. Ivan Lenov now, who you're looking at in the number 6 black and orange liveried car, currently holding 3rd position in the early stages of this race. It is another 20-minute race. Peyo Pivet in 4th position, trying to find a way past. Pivet trying to get in the slipstream of Leonov ahead of him, trying to find a way up the inside, shows his nose nice and early, doesn't have enough of an overlap, but Leonov runs a little bit wide on corner exit. That opens the door for Pivet. Can Leonov fight off the car aside of him? Yes, he can. He retains his position, but that allows Ryan in on the action as well now. Kevin Ryan in 5th position sees these two squabbling over the same piece of tarmac in the early stages of this race. He's sussing out what opportunities may present to himself over the course of the next 17 minutes even, and 40 seconds. Ryan gets a good run through the snake up to the top of the hill. The corner's here, a very, very fast corner entry, a little bit off camber in parts as well. Balancing the car becomes incredibly important, very difficult to do that in a slipstream of a car ahead, and that affects Ryan's lap time, affects his opportunity to follow closely as we see Pivet now dropping the car over the curb. That's compromising. Look how much of a gap, look how much distance he has dropped to Leonov ahead of him, and Pivet now has gone from the attacker to the defender. Ryan shows his nose early on the inside. There's a minuscule braking zone here, not enough to get an overlap. Semenchich in the last race was proven that is entirely possible, but at this stage in proceedings, that is a bridge too far for these drivers. As Zemerich now makes contact, there's contact between the two cars. Zemerich in the black Tartus FT60 makes contact with the front wheel of August Lanner that we see there. That closes the rest of the field up. Somebody jumps down pit lane. Ericsson already is retired from this race to our second position on the grid. Ericsson has retired from the race. Hitz has jumped down pit lane, so that's a shame as well for Ben Hitz. Down pit road, out of contention now. That realistically just leaves 17 cars in the running. Diogo Silva, of course, started on pit road, so Silva very much at the back of the field with a lot of work to do if he's going to bring himself into contention during the remainder of this race. We're looking back at this moment in time from Jacob Reed's car. Jacob Reed from the United Kingdom snuck in to the time in 59th position in the hot lap competition. So Reed, very, very fast driver in his own right, not quite at the level in terms of lap time in the hot lap competition of those ahead of him. But hot lap's one thing, racing is entirely different kettle of fish. That's exactly why we wanted to qualify these drivers through race competition rather than hot lap, because this is where you need to use your intelligence, your racecraft, your experience, your speed, and your skill. The driver that we're riding on board with now, Handgraf, Station Handgraf, in 13th position, is actually one of our reserves from the Netherlands. He didn't make the top 60 because of a couple of drivers pulling out of the event. Handgraf now gets his opportunity, and he's grabbed that with both hands to good effect. Currently in 13th position, painting himself to the back of Jacob Reed ahead as well. Looking now at a little bit of a replay. Yuri Kazdorp on your right hand screen, our race leader on your left hand screen. It is the Jacob Reed fight for 12th position. Kazdorp looks like he has everything under control at the front of the field at the moment. Minimal inputs at the steering wheel, keeping the car nice and balanced, not overtaxing the vehicle or himself, as he serenely finds himself at the front of the field by quite a margin now, as the rest of the drivers behind continue to fight for position. So Kazdorp in the prime seats to win and qualify in this split 3 race. Handgraf that we were looking at is fighting with everything he's got to find himself in that top 10. And Ivan Leonov and Peyo Peve are fighting for the 3rd position, the bottom step of the podium. To remind everybody at home, for anybody that's just tuning into this broadcast, there are no points on offer for this. It is purely about your race finishing position. 1st or 10th, does not matter. That gets you in to the all-important semi-final on Saturday. These drivers are racing hard against each other for pride. They want that top 10. They need that top 10 to qualify. They also want to beat their rivals. They also want to show to the world that they're a force to be reckoned with. And Leonov ahead, get in the car, sideways down the hill. That will compromise him on this long back straight. That will allow an opportunity for Peyo PV to find a good slipstream, to decide which side of the car he is going to attack. There's no room there, but Leonov runs wide, gets the car squiggly on corner exit, minimal corner, mid-corner speed, compromising. PV walks through that gap, a little friendly wave, thank you very much. It's not going to get much easier than that. I'll take your position. That is P3. Thank you very much for the early Christmas present from Leonov. And this is exactly how it happened from on board the PV. Showed his nose, made the car ahead run deep. He then got squirrely in the middle of the corner. That killed any momentum for the number 6. The door was wide open. You could have got 2 Tortoise FT60s through that gap, and you're not going to give a gift horse like that one up. And Peo Pive walks through the gap, takes 3rd place, and immediately goes about trying to gap himself and Ivan Leonov behind in 4th, who's now under pressure from Kevin Ryan in 5th. We spoke about this driver earlier in the race. This is Handgraf in 12th position. One of our reserve drivers finds the car ahead, getting very, very quickly. 3 or 4 attempts to catch the car under acceleration. Jacob Reed does well to keep the car pointing in the right direction, but once again, that is another very straightforward overtake. Since that replay, Handgraf now has dropped to 15th on the timing stack. So unfortunately, an advantage gain is also an advantage loss, and Handgraf dropped a lot further down the running order. So there must have been a mistake there. We've got a yellow flag in the 2nd sector, so somebody somewhere on the racetrack is in strife. But Danny van der Neet currently in the middle of a sandwich, and it is Handgraf that we spoke about earlier, bringing the car, I fear, to an early retirement. So such a good run comes to an early conclusion, not quite at the halfway mark in this 3rd split race for Sim Formula Europe 2021. Now, Chao Petias, we're looking at this moment in time in 8th position. He is fighting Danny van der Neet ahead of him. Doesn't look at this moment in time like he's quite got the pace overlap on the car in front as we jump to a quick replay. So great replay work from Ruben Correa Alves here as we're looking. Runs a little bit wide, so does the car behind. Nothing too controversial there. Fairly clean through the corner, a little bit sideways, and then gets rear-ended by the car. Once, not quite twice. That's obviously caused some kind of damage to the car in front. So sadly, an early finish for Handgraf and also Jacob Reed as well. So only 15 cars left in this race. 5 drivers will be disappointed. The moment that is Silva hits Cott, Pasuto and August Lana in 11th place and not in a qualification spot. At this moment in time, Liam Rance now on the outside in 10th place, runs out of racetrack, a little bit rude there, but that allows Paul August Lana into that 10th position. So Liam Rance tried, gambled and lost ahead of Konrad Zemeric in 9th position. A little bit aggressive from both drivers there. A little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact that won't really have caused any damage, I don't think, but this allows Laddie now to go down the inside last of the late breakers. Daniel Ricciardo-esque. Can he get the car stopped in time? Yes, he can. That is an absolutely perfect overtaking manoeuvre from 11th to 9th in a matter of corners, and now there's an opportunity for Liam Rance to get one back on the black car ahead of him. Liam Rance in 11th place. He's the first of the drivers that has not qualified for the semi-finals on Saturday. He will be desperate to liberate that position from Konrad Zemeric ahead of him. He will feel hard done to by the contact that was made between those two cars. I was getting word in my ear now that actually Handgraf was DNF'd for a blown engine, which is why the contact from the car behind was made. He lost the engine on the exit of the corner, so mechanical failure for Handgraf. Even more of a bitter pill to swallow there, but the end result is that means there's 15 cars on track now. Leonov in 4th position on the defensive from Kevin Ryan in P5. Ryan tries to get an overlap on the inside. He won't quite have enough into the left-hander that turns downhill into the right-hander. Leonov retains that 4th place just about as well. Looking riding on board now with Lanny in 9th place. Too wide, coming to the same corner. We've just seen that's a very dangerous place to go too wide. Good bit of driving, give each other a bit of room, a little bit of contact, runs the car out wide. That opens the door for Paul August Land to get his way past the car. And very, very aggressive fighting from those drivers. But so far, everybody's still pointing in the right direction. And Kevin Ryan started to get frustrated. You can feel the frustration of the 5th place driver now firmly locked behind the back of Ivan Leonov. He can see Pivet ahead of him, but is pulling away at a rate of knots. Leonov is the cork in the bottle so far. Kevin Ryan is the bubbly, trying to fizz his way out of said bottle, but he knows on the one hand, fifth position's good. Fifth position will qualify me. I've got a comfortable gap to the drivers behind me. But on the other hand, I see an opportunity and I'm going to grab that and I'm going to take it if I possibly can without taking too much risk to my overall race position. We see contact between two cars further down the running order. That is Liam Rance making contact with Zebic, I believe it is. Liam Rance makes contact with number 19 that's now coming back on the attack. That's the second time these two cars have been within kissing distance of each other. Not quite sure exactly what happened between the two, but the upshot for that one is Prosciutto is now in the prime seat of 10th position. He's the man on the bubble. He's the man with the qualification ticket to Saturday's semi-final, waving in front of his nose, and Liam Rance has got it all to do once again in 12th place. Now we're looking on board at the back of Konrad Zebic. He gets a little bit compromised on corner exit. Rance closes the door down. Zebic doesn't quite know exactly what to do. Makes contact with the rear corner of Liam Rance's car, and that is very much a case of two cars trying to make it through into a gap only wide enough for one. And unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, you've seen the consequences of that. It will lead to somebody facing the wrong direction and no doubt a little bit of stern words at the end of this race. We're riding on board now in the battle for fourth position. Leonov fourth, Ryan fifth, Masule in sixth, Van der Neet in seventh, Pietas in eighth, and August Lanny in ninth position. We're riding on board now with Chao Pietas in 8th position, having a great drive, actually qualified a little bit lower down the running order, kept the car nice and neat, kept himself out of trouble and just methodically worked his way through the grid, which is exactly what you've got to do in these races. I said it at the top of the show and it bears repeating now as we're in the final throes of the final split race. Mistakes will be punished in this competition. You've got one opportunity only to qualify for the semi-finals. Even those drivers that have done the hard work and have got the top 10 that they need, they've still got the semi-final race where 30 drivers will be fighting for 9 spots in finals day in January, this coming Saturday at 3 p.m. This is half the battle. The battles have been won by some of these drivers, but the war is still very much on. We're getting a bit of a dive now. Danny Van der Neet takes a lot of risk there as he throws the car down the inside of Mascoli in 6th place. A very, very late overtaking chance, very late in the race itself as well. A lot of risk was being thrown at a position that don't necessarily need to take that risk at this stage in the race. Thankfully for both drivers, they managed to carry on regardless, but that would have been heart-in-mouth moments very much for both of those drivers. So great that they continue on. We've got 4 minutes and 21 seconds left in this split 3 race, and look at this, the two-way fight has now very quickly become a 3-way fight, and that's why Danny Van der Neet tried to throw it up the inside, because he's coming under increasing pressure from Chao Pietas behind. So Van der Neet is in a difficult spot. Do you attack or do you defend? Whatever you do, Danny Van der Neet, make sure you do it and you commit to it, because half measures will lead to disaster in this race of the two cars trying to fit in the same bit of tarmac. They get a little bit compromised. That opens the door for Pietas to find a way past Van der Neet round the outside, becomes the inside, secures the overtaking maneuver. Pietas trying to find an opportunity while Mascolo ahead is compromised. Pietas cannot find a way past. It's a tight part of the racetrack, and Van der Neet pulls off an exceptional overtaking manoeuvre. Clean driving from all concerned. Racing room has been given, but August Lanny now is buying into this fight. It started with a 2-car fight, it transferred to a 3-car fight, and now 4 cars fighting for position, and August Lanny fights his way past. Pietas drops down to 9th position. Prosciutto wants to buy into this fight as well. He's 10th, remember, the last of the qualified races. There's only 14 cars on the track, and this has been an incredible race. Let's have a look at Liam Rance now. Someone that's been in these 2 cars have been rubbing paint. They'll be same colour at the end of this race by the time they do. But Liam Rance, no contact, but hits the wall hard, and that is a race-ending shunt, I'm afraid, for Liam Rance. So 14 cars, 18 started, 14 are running, 2 minutes and 40 seconds left on the clock as there's a little bit of a spin. Leonov throws the car down the inside, manages to control it with superhuman car control and car exit, and that is a position. So Leonov takes third position. PF is fighting now with Ryan. Ryan gets a significant overlap. Can he get it secured before we get to the braking zone at the top of the hill? Yes, we can. Ryan moves up in a fourth position. We've got Peo PF in fifth position. Now there's a car, slower car on the track as well. PF drops to sixth actually, so Van der Neet moves up into fifth place. Things are happening faster than my eyes can process out on the circuit. And once again, just like we saw in split 1, just like we saw in split 2, it comes alive at the end of the race with overtaking left, right and centre. This is what Formula 1 promises to be, but never is. And I think actually we've got a problem. We've got a problem for PF. He's dropping back. He's losing speed on the straight line. Could this be a mechanical failure? Could this be a hardware failure at his rig at home? What is quite happening, I do not know. But Peo PF is dropping like a stone at the moment. He's still in 9th position. He's still in the spots. It's a fuel issue, I believe I've been told in my ear by Ruben. So thank you for that information. A fuel issue for PF. So underfilling, no doubt, the car for this short 20-minute race. And that is beginning to cost him. Can he keep hold of this top 10? Remember, folks, he needs a top 10. He's currently in 9th position. Paul August Lanner ahead in 7th, is climbing all over 6th place. Masculi, can he find a way past as well? Pierre's got a bit of a gap to the cars behind. We've got 40 seconds left, just over on the clock. He might sneak it over the line, but his heart will be in his mouth at this moment in time. Drama right through to the very final seconds of the races. Everybody needs massive respect for these drivers. Some incredible racing, some incredible drama throughout the race. Retirements, overtakes, fuel issues, mechanical failures, fights. We've had it all. And meanwhile, at the front of the field, Yuri Kasdorp has had the most boring race of his sim racing career. From pole position to race lead, the most dramatic thing he had was the timing screen not quite knowing if he was first or second into the first few corners. Yuri Kasdorp doing everything he needs to do to qualify for this race. Now look, we're riding with Peo PM on the screen on the right-hand side. That is 10th position behind him. That is Zibiec, who's been involved in pretty much every bit of contact possible with Liam Rance earlier in the race. So can PF retain this 9th? If he can't, can he hold on long enough to get the top 11? We will find out in the next few laps, a few moments, should I say, as the clock has wound down to 0. The race in the same Formula Europe 2021 qualification quarterfinals comes to an end. PF about to get overtaken for 10th position, 9th position. A little bit of unnecessary contact as well there. So Zebiek once again making contact with his rivals, but Peo PF still in 10th position. He has got 5 seconds even over Cott behind him. He's got a few more corners to go, so Peo PF will be wanting to get this race over and done with as soon as he possibly can. This is Cosmo Pasuto, another driver in stride. Pasuto running out of fuel as well at the final last, but these are problems that have not affected Yuri Kasdorp as he crosses the line to take a race victory at Sim Formula Europe 2021 quarter-final split 3. Fantastic for Kasdorp. Lanner and Masculi racing to the line for 6th and 7th position. It will go the way of the Italian. Will it? Do they cross the line? Yes, only just. Looking back now, Peo PF loses out that top 10 position right at the very death. Adrian Knott comes across the checkered flag in 10th position with a qualification ticket. He will be delighted. The very last moment echoes of Nigel Mansell pushing his car over the line when it runs out of fuel. Peo PF retires without even making it to the checkered flag. Heartbreak for the Bulgarian driver, runs out of fuel right at the very flag, having done everything he possibly can to secure that top 10 qualification position. But ladies and gentlemen, what an incredible way to end Sim Formula Europe qualification set quarterfinals even here at the Virginia International Raceway in the United States of America. Yuri Kasdorp, pole position, race win, never matched. A fantastic drive, fantastic performance from each and every one of our drivers, and these are the top 10 that qualify for Saturday's semi-final race. Yuri Kasdorp from Philip Kraus, Ivan Leonov in third place, Danny van der Neet in P4, Kevin Ryan in P5, Eros Masule in sixth place, Paul August Lanner in seventh, Charles Pietas in eighth place, Konrad Zebic in ninth, and Adrian Cott shocked across the finish line in P10 thanks to the fuel issue from Charles Pietas. What a fantastic three splits of racing. Thank you so much to Ruben Correa Alves on broadcast direction once again, doing an excellent job to bring these pictures to you all at home. Thank you to Jimmy Allison behind the scenes in race control, keeping everybody on the straight and narrow. Thank you to Sim Formula Europe for putting this competition on, and Studio 397, of course, for R Factor 2. And thank you to our sponsors as we look at the final finishers. Ben Hitz in 11th place, Payev just retiring at the flag, Diogo Silva P12, Picciuto, Rance, Reed, Handegraaff and Ericsson not making it to the checkered flag. There has been an incredible first set of races for the 2021 running of Sim Formula Europe. Qualification quarterfinals, we'll be doing it all again on Saturday at 3 p.m. CET for the semi-final one-off race of 30 minutes and 30 drivers to decide who we're taking through to Sim Formula Europe Finals Day. I've been Paul Jeffrey, from myself and the team here at Sim Formula Europe. Thank you very much for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you again on Saturday. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.